What does Paul Anderson, trapeze artists, old-time strongmen, horseshoers, blacksmiths, and gymnasts all have in common? Well, clearly they're all on steroids. But aside from that, it's that their training revolved around one particular methodology that is overpowered for developing rapid gains in a short period of time. But here's the rub. It can't be done in a typical gym setting. Now, this method revolves around training frequency, and frequency is an often talked about problem with training. People will argue about optimal frequency until they're blue in the face, appealing to their favorite lifters or the most recent study they read. Do you just spam that gains button over and over by stimulating as often as possible and saying, F it, the body adapts? Or do you keep it minimalist, do the tried and true bro split, and let recovery do its thing? Is it different for different lifts, different people? How do I even fit it all in a particular week? Now, if you think this problem is confusing, it's made more so by the fact that just so many methods work. Frequency ranges from ultra high to ultra low in both bodybuilding and strength sports at large. You have Mike Mentor's once every 58-day recommendation. Then you have the very high volume, high frequency approach of legends like Serge Nubret. In barbell sports, you have the ultra high frequency death marches of the Bulgarian system, which led Naim Solomonoglu to clean and jerk 3 times his frickin' body weight. And then you have the hyper minimalist 2-day per week whole body split of Hugh Cassidy. Now you might be thinking, hey, I can train high frequency at a regular gym, but not like this, Broheim. I'm not talking about weekly frequency. I'm talking about daily frequency. That's right, multiple sessions done throughout a single day, many days throughout the week. So unless you actually own the gym or you want to set up a tent in the pickleball court, this is going to be for the home gym warriors who want to get a leg up. Enjoy this 30-second time lapse of the 2 hours I spent trying and failing miserably to capture the essence of Pavel Tsatsouline. I was trying to capture his distinct Russian features and it came out a lot more like a Turkish hookah bar owner. So let me just throw this up. Now, Pavel's talked about many productive methods of training, but one of them is the grease the groove method, which emphasizes the skill component of physical development over just pure raw stimulus. The idea is that by using low effort repeated attempts throughout the day, you can increase neurological adaptations while keeping fatigue low. In typical 1 time per week scorched earth workouts, you wait a week to recover because it takes that long for the soreness, the inflammation, the muscle damage to reverse itself. But the neurological adaptations often happen much sooner. Now, while doing things like push-ups, pull-ups, or single leg squats multiple times throughout the day to grease the groove might be a revelation to many of today's lifters, back in the day, that was really just called training. According to Bob Peoples, Paul Anderson got as strong as he did by squatting all day, every other day. He would take 30-minute breaks between attempts, sip milk in between, and the monumental amount of work that he clocked would only be doable if he was in fact training at home. Now, don't let Paul Anderson's mythological strength persuade you. I mean, just look at this image. He's overweight, wearing a leotard, standing in a hole he dug in his yard, which is probably a tetanus trap, holding 2 rusted out barrels that he convinced 2 young, attractive ladies to climb on top for this photo op. This guy fucks, and I'm pretty sure it's because of the squats. Now, Bob Peoples himself, known as the first man to deadlift 700 pounds, was another fan of very high frequency. He had multiple stations set up around his farm so he could do work wherever he just happened to be. He would deadlift daily, adding weight until he got stale, and then switch to squatting every day to switch it up. Bob would have to wedge his training in between waking up at the crack of dawn to work his farm and the 10+ hour shifts he'd work at the rayon plant. You might think Bob's status as a first 700-pound deadlifter came from his freakish praying mantis proportions, but this back did not manifest out of nowhere. This is the result of labor. Laborers who move weight, who use their hands day in, day out, often don't care about records. They develop their impressive strength accidentally by virtue of just showing up trying to earn a paycheck. Now, given that the hands of horseshoers and blacksmiths often embarrass some of the most seasoned lifters who deliberately spend time with special exercises to improve their forearm size and grip strength, should tell you something about the nature of clocking work over trying to be a bit too clever. Now, how are you going to apply this? Obviously, I don't want you to scrap your program and have this be the foundation of your training. You are not going to use this to do everything. That is a losing strategy. Now, even if you don't have a life, job, obligation, or family, and you could just like squat in your dirt hole 5 times per day, you're still going to have to grow into that frequency or your joints and tendons are going to rebel. Having all of your workouts structured multiple times per day is complicated at best. It's going to be impossible to recover from and juggle your life goals at worst. This method is best used as a supplement to your regular training for few things that deserve special attention. And in fact, I strongly recommend that all of you only do one if you're going to try it at all. If you're confused about what you should be doing for your regular gym training program, I've got something for you. Guys, if you want to hit the holy trifecta of gains, the size, the strength, and of course the clout, you need a program that checks the biggest boxes. Not only does it use the best time-tested movements that you are actually likely to stick to and improve on, but it includes a logical progression that is based on my most popular programs. These are programs that have gotten rave reviews from people that literally just ran the template. BaseStrengthLP uses 3 of the most proven templates pulled from the principles of some of the biggest, strongest men in history that have been used for over a century. The workouts are fun, intuitive, there's a logical progression, but it does take it up a notch because it personalizes the workouts to you. As you get bigger, stronger, more advanced, it becomes harder to tick those numbers forward, and you can't get by not adjusting your workouts to your own particular tolerances. Now, most people get an online coach to take care of that for them to the tune of $200 to $300 a month, and the rest of the people just never figure it out to begin with. So if you're wondering why you start every training cycle super excited only to get several weeks in, feel brittle, overtrained, tired, disillusioned, like you're just a dodgeball and the program is the side of a building, then you need direction that updates your training minute to minute, day to day, week to week based on your immediate feedback. BaseStrengthLP takes the guesswork out of training, and it does what only an online coach can do, which is personalize the program to you at 1/10 of the cost. Yes, 1/10 of the cost. So jump on the heart and soul of old school training. It's my programming, but it is your program and you cannot get that anywhere else. Hit up basestrength.com today to get started on your game. If you're wondering which basket to put those eggs in, here are some options. Grip and calves are the obvious candidates for most people. They're both built for endurance. They recover extremely easily. They handle high volumes very well, and they get ignored in most people's training. Raise your hand if you think your forearms and calves are big enough. I didn't think so. Every time your wife asks you to take out the trash, you could stop at the bottom of the stairs, knock off a set of raises, and before you know it, those things are gonna look like a couple of giant Renaissance Fair turkey legs. Just don't forget the trash bag at the bottom, or you'll get yelled at. You might find you're in your garage often enough looking for some random tool that you know you have but you can never find, and there's just no good reason not to take that opportunity to knock off a max hang. You'll do 4 or 5 hangs in a day before you realize, and that volume adds up. Bodyweight exercises are going to pack a big punch here as well, and it seems to be almost impossible to overtrain from doing bodyweight focused work. No one, and I mean no one, has ever overtrained or blew their heavy workout because they started doing daily push-ups, pistols, pull-ups, or bench dips. Now, the normal triggers for growth, they're still going to be here. You're going to increase capacity, mitochondrial bodies just grow super quick in like a matter of days, and you're going to clock more total volume, which is absolutely going to lead to more hypertrophy. But remember, the real superpower here is skill development, and that happens even with some of the most simple movements that you can do. Take your grip, for instance. Just grabbing something and squeezing as hard as you can is a pretty simple movement, but you have to develop intramuscular coordination. Within individual muscles, your nervous system is adapting and changing. You're improving how many motor units you recruit, how fast you recruit them, and that is an element of skill. Adaptations happen extremely fast. Some of them happen in the time it takes you to finish your workout. Now, as you start adding other muscles and joints to the mix, you have intermuscular coordination. The muscles need to be able to communicate with each other, another component of skill that can be worked on. And when you consider something as simple as your grip, the different ways that you can pinch, crush, squeeze items, these are all different individual skill sets that, while they carry over to each other, they can be developed specifically unto themselves. So if the skill-based approach works for something as simple as your grip, what happens when you add even more complexity? Bigger muscles, more moving joints, having to support, balance, maneuver, coordinate complex movements, sandbag work, zerchers, cleans and presses. If you're gonna train like one Eugene Sandow and do your bent press work multiple times throughout the day, you're gonna notice that very quickly you get more confident with how you rack it. You figure out how to shift your hips. You get a little bit more flexible. All of these little points come together, and before you know it, you feel so confident you're just like Arthur Saxon going around lying to people that you bent pressed 400 pounds. Now, John Grimmick is a really great example of where this can intersect with both hypertrophy and with strength. He wasn't just the monarch of muscledom with his iconic physique, he was also an Olympian and a damn strong one, and pictures abound of John doing feats of strength just like this. John figured out how to do these lifts with his whole body workouts, which in his younger years he did 5 to 6 times per week. As time went on, he lowered the frequency to bias towards recovery, but at that point, the base of his skill had already been built. There are 3 basic ways you can approach this. Feeder workouts are very productive. Those were promoted by one Richard Quinton Piana. May he rest in peace. And the idea here is to do blood flow focused workouts that don't tear you down. They don't contribute to a bunch of soreness, but they do cause another round of stimulus and they get blood flow to the joints, which helps with recovery, makes your joints feel better, and it contributes to the total volume. Doing banded weight variations or very high reps multiple times per day, it's not only going to increase your capacity, but yes, you will grow directly from that. We talked about grease the groove. If there's a particular lift that you're trying to get better at, practicing it multiple times throughout the day at reduced efforts and loads is a fantastic way to get it down. Strongman legend Andrew Clayton was an advocate for setting up an empty bar in your garage so that you could practice a split jerk multiple times throughout the day as you pass by, because most strongmen try to use that, but they are so behind in skill acquisition that they need those extra touches, and that's a great way to dial that in without having to dedicate an actual training session. This, of course, also applies to the movements we talked about, barbell stuff, bodyweight stuff, and on and on. Now, the third way to do it is the one that I'm least a fan of because it can probably go sideways the most, but it is an option to you. If you have an aggressive weak point and you wanted to use this method, you might consider just going ham. Small muscles recover pretty quickly. So instead of having, say, a dedicated bicep day, you might just get in the habit of doing a hard set of curls every time you walk by the dumbbells in the garage, racking up 4, 5, 6 a day and doing that most days out of the week. I recommend smaller muscle groups, and I strongly recommend letting yourself build into the frequency before you start hitting the gas. There are examples of people that have done this with success, but like I said, you're not going to do it with everything, and you got to be mindful of your body's tolerance to frequency. So that's all I got for today, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, this is Bromley. I'll see you.